Amen. Seated. So as we've been going through Mark, Jesus has been emphasizing follow me, follow, and this whole idea of getting closer and closer and following the way of Christ. But today, the end of the gospel, you notice we turn a little bit away from follow, and now the emphasis is to serve. And what better Sunday for this sermon than the Daughters of the King? So that just providentially worked out. And serving God is, of course, what we all strive to do. And sometimes I don't think we get it right, even when we seem like or think we are. A couple things have been on my mind. First off, the other reason this sermon works is because this coming weekend we got some people going to Cursillo. And I remember a talk by a layperson at my Cursillo 31 years ago. How many of you can remember sermons from 31 years ago or talks? But this guy was incredible. And what he said was so important for a brand new priest to hear. Because let's be honest, I'm in the service industry. Everything I do, right, is service. And there's no shortage of opportunities to serve God. I can go visit people. I can write sermons. I can teach a Bible class. There's no limit. And, you know, Jesus says to James and John, are you sure you know what you're asking? Oh, yeah, we're in. I think about my clergy life and my clergy friends. When we all started out, we said, yeah, we're in. And I look around, and there aren't as many left as what started. One of my best friends had a nervous breakdown. Another one of them lost his marriage. Of the four of us that were kind of the gang, it's just me and Todd that are left. But maybe had my friends heard the talk that I heard at Cursillo, it might have been different. This gentleman was also an A-type personality. Somebody who wanted to work, wanted to serve. Devout Christian. And he said, you know, it used to be that every morning I would get up and I would do morning prayer and I would take out my Franklin planner. Remember when we used to write our calendar on things instead of having it programmed in our phones? I do like having it programmed in my phone because my phone beeps and reminds me. And my Franklin planner didn't. He says, I would lay out my Franklin planner and I would say, Lord, and I'd go through my day and I'd ask Him to bless all the things that were in there. And he says, I felt really good about that. But things in his life began to unravel a little bit, and he said, I went back and I thought about it. And he says, now what I do is before I go to bed at night, I open my Franklin planner and I ask Jesus, what would you have me do tomorrow? Both sound holy, but only one is. Jesus says, apart from me, you can do nothing good. So no matter how good you think your service is, no matter how noble or how righteous or how the rest of the world might judge what you're doing, if Jesus hasn't asked you to do it, knock it off. Kind of gets back to the follow part. You have to have that close connection so that you know you're doing only those things that He would have you do. I remember we were in a school district where we had a lot of stay-at-home moms. My wife was working full-time, and she was talking to a friend of hers and feeling guilty about not being able to volunteer more in the schools than she did. Her friend looked at her and said, look, they can. You need to do only those things that a Christian woman can do. There are things that you can do that they can't. What is it that God is calling you to do? Just don't do a good thing to do a thing. So that's the first part of that. Second part of that is understand that if you are called to serve in any kind of way, it will come out of your gifting, or God will give you what you need. I've told the story before about Phyllis. Phyllis used to, she was a prayer warrior. She used to pray for me every day, and she also wrote articles for the newsletter. And I had moved up to, this was my church up in Michigan, and some friends of mine who were part of my church in South Carolina said, please send me your newsletter so we can keep track of you. So they got my newsletter. And when I went down to visit, they said, oh, we love getting your newsletter, and we pass it around the church. And then I'm thinking, oh, good. She goes, yes, everybody loves Phyllis's article. It was a gift. So one day she comes into my office and she says, Father Kevin, I've decided to stop writing the article. I'm going to teach Sunday school. I said, why? Well, I think they have a need there, and I need to fill a need, and I'm not, it's not like I'm doing anything. I'm just writing an article. And I kind of explained to her that it was her gift and that it was great, and people look forward to it. And she said, yeah, but I don't feel like I'm serving. And I said, well, do you like kids? And she goes, no. I said, Phyllis, well, it's not that hard to write that art. I said, that's the definition of a gift. When your ministry, when the places where you're serving brings you joy, and it's easy, and it's not that difficult. But she was a former Roman Catholic, and she kind of felt like if she wasn't suffering, she wasn't serving. Now, let me say this about that. I think life gives us enough suffering that we don't need to look for it. And I do think, and this is a Roman Catholic thing, that Roman Catholics understand that suffering is not punishment from God, but is an opportunity to share in the suffering of Christ and draw nearer. It's something we need to learn. Instead of, why is God doing this to me? Suffering's going to happen in all of our lives. All right, that was the sidebar. When I first went to Haiti, I did not feel that I was in my gifting. It was a medical missionary trip, and though I play a doctor on TV, I'm not really one, and I wanted to be, I wanted to help, but, my job was to hold the flashlight for the dentist. And to be the chaplain. And the official language of Haiti is French, and we had some good French speakers there. But most people there speak Creole, Haitian Creole. And nobody understood. And every now and then, I would get pulled from my dental duties to go and translate. Even though I don't speak Creole, one of the docs would go, "Kevin, come over here. I can't figure out what he wants. Can you figure it out?" And even though I didn't speak the language, I could somehow figure out what was going on. And some of the team said that our prayer services gave them what they needed to get through to do what they could do. So while I did not feel that that was in my gifting, God gave me what I needed when I needed it. And last but not least, actually probably the most important thing, is why we serve. We serve out of thanksgiving for what God has done for us. We don't serve to impress God, to get on His good side, try and earn our way into heaven. That's impossible. We serve because God has served us first. We love others because we have been loved. The other place this verb gets used in the story is earlier on when they're at Peter's house. So they've been out, they've been praying, they've been healing, they've been casting out it's just been a long, hard day. And Peter says, "Let's call it a night. Let's go to my house for dinner." So they get there, they walk in, and Peter, the woman of the house, Peter's mother-in-law, is sick in bed. So imagine the scene. You got 13 guys standing around, no woman to take care of them. And, if it were you, if it were me, and Jesus came by, I think we would have probably tried to get up and do something. But Jesus went to her, He touched her, He healed her, and then she served. That our service to others comes from a place of having been touched by God, having been loved by God, and then we go out. We know that we are loved, and we are so thankful for that. We want to share that love with others. Here's a quick way to tell. Do you need somebody to tell you thank you for your service? Do you need the pat on the back? Or is the service itself the gift you need? Because if you're doing God's ministry, if you know this is what He has called you to do, and you do it, and there's fruit to what you're doing, that in and of itself brings so much joy that you can keep doing what you're doing. Because you've let God love you. You're now ready to go and serve Him by loving others. Amen.